Although this short presentation is about not-for-profit housing cooperatives, I need to start our story with some slightly broader information about co-ops in general. The standard definition of a co-op is an autonomous association of people united voluntarily to meet their common economic, social, and cultural needs and aspirations through a jointly owned and democratically controlled business. This chart from the BC Cooperative Association shows some of the ways in which co-ops differ from investor-owned businesses. One of the key differences is that, as community-based organizations, co-ops care about more than the business bottom line. They also care about the needs of their members and the quality of life in their communities. That's what is meant by social goals. More about that in a minute. Other differences are that co-ops have a different purpose. They exist to meet the common needs of their members, not to maximize profit for shareholders. Co-ops use a system of one member, one vote, not one vote per share, which helps them serve common interests and ensure that people, not capital, control the organization. And not-for-profit co-ops do not create profit. If housing cooperatives should generate more funds than needed, the benefit goes back to the shareholder members in the form of lower housing charges, building improvements, or both. In short, cooperative enterprises offer a different way of doing things. Unlike private enterprises, co-ops generally are owned and controlled by the people who use their services. What all co-ops have in common is a democratic structure. They differ in purpose because they've been established with different ends in mind. For instance, a credit union is obviously not the same as a housing co-op. Similarly, a grocery co-op could be owned by the consumers, the farmers providing the produce, or both. In fact, co-ops across Canada and around the world engage in many different kinds of activities. Think of credit unions like Vancity and the Desjardins Group, who deliver financial services to members. Or how about Mountain Equipment Co-op, who provide sports clothing and gear, and Moto, the car co-op. Housing co-ops, such as those on Falls Creek South, are enterprises in the cooperative model. Their business is to provide housing for their shareholder members. And the term shareholder member is important because it reminds us that the housing co-op members own shares in the co-op enterprise instead of owning the housing unit they live in. As we'll see shortly, that is the key to a housing co-op's affordability. Caring about the needs of members and their quality of life, called having social goals, puts co-ops into what some people call the third sector of society, or the civic or plural sector. This sector is defined as any association of people that is neither publicly nor privately owned, neither by the state nor commercial investors. In addition, nonprofit co-ops in many lines of businesses may also choose to register as charities, and increasingly such nonprofit businesses are being called social enterprises. The four principles shown on the screen really do create a whole picture that is greater than the sum of its parts. First, housing charges in not-for-profit co-ops reflect only the real cost of delivering their housing. The co-op enterprise pays all of the usual costs of doing business, such as taxes, maintenance, repairs, and insurances. Co-ops plan and manage for the long-term care of their buildings and facilities through regular maintenance and improvements to ensure safe and healthy homes. They invest in upgrading buildings for sustainability, but no one takes a profit from housing costs, neither through the rent nor the sale of the property, and that's the key to co-op housing's affordability. Although a housing co-op is a business, it's also a community. We really could say that a not-for-profit housing co-op is a business that supports its shareholder members' community. And what is community? Sociologists tell us that community is where we feel we belong, a place where, as an individual, each of us feels a sense of personal significance, a place where we are secure, physically and emotionally. So although co-ops offer obvious financial benefits to their shareholder members, maybe it is this sense of community that is the most important one today, at a time when so many people in our society say they feel isolated and lonely. Life in a housing co-op offers a healthy alternative. Despite its not-for-profit status, there is a richness in housing co-op communities, and that lies in the variety of people across social, economic, and educational backgrounds cooperating to provide good housing and a friendly neighborhood for each other. When people join together on their co-op's board of directors and committees to run their co-op enterprise, they come to appreciate points of view different from their own. Each member's capacity to make a contribution thus expands. Through association-led education workshops and specific board and committee governance experiences, members develop the knowledge and skills that enable strong stewardship of the co-op enterprise. In these ways, not-for-profit housing co-ops build a participatory community. Collectively, housing co-ops have invested over the years in their common physical asset, making it more affordable for the whole group now and into the future. And in building community, co-ops also invest in people, in each other. Shareholder members bring an array of abilities and expertise to the running of not-for-profit housing co-ops. In this middle-class sector, you will find white, blue, and pink-collar workers representing varying educational levels, professional and technical skills, languages, and ethnicities. The community may include members who have lived on the site for a long time and others who have joined just recently. Each co-op manages its waiting list in an open, fair, and transparent manner. All new members apply through the individual co-op's standardized application processes, with the applicant information and screening process handled in a confidential manner, one which complies with human rights and privacy legislation. All successful applicants must have an income in the target range that fits with the co-op's current needs for sustainability and population mix. Waiting lists are developed and managed to ensure a good fit between applicant interests and requirements, such as the size of the family. The business mission of not-for-profit housing co-ops is housing for all shareholder members for as long as they wish to stay. That's security of tenure. It is the shareholder members' trade-off in exchange for relinquishing personal equity gained through home ownership. Co-ops do their best to ensure no one has to leave because of changing life events, such as a drop in income due to employment or educational status, change in marital life, illness, retirement, or other circumstances. Not-for-profit housing co-ops use the tools of internal subsidies or federal government support to link housing charges to household incomes. Co-ops in Falls Creek South, for example, have been a long-term home for many members, some going all the way back 35 to 40 years. Early members are approaching retirement, and some have already retired. Like people in many neighborhoods, co-op members often want to age in their own communities rather than relocate. In not-for-profit housing co-ops, lower-income households may receive a subsidy to reduce their housing charges. Depending on the co-op, subsidy may come from a surcharge on higher-income households or a co-op's partnership with the federal government to deliver financial assistance directly to low-income households. However, this long-time federal financial assistance to low-income households is scheduled to end in the near future, sometime between now and 2021. Those co-ops affected are investigating ways to financially support their low-income member households so they can remain in their homes without the assistance programs. The provincial government does not contribute to the mix because low-income households, like all the others in co-ops, are not eligible for rental supplement assistance as they are deemed to be home owners, not renters. In addition, you will find moderate income earners living in co-ops alongside low-income earners because that's precisely how the federal government housing programs were designed at the time when the many co-op communities were created. By following those guidelines, the co-ops are faithfully discharging their contractual obligations to the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation and the federal government. The mutual support offered by a diverse community reinforces the ability of co-ops to deliver affordable housing. Unlike residents of public or non-profit social housing, co-op members are homeowners, not renters. While the affordable rental housing provided by public agencies and nonprofit societies also is a very important housing asset in the community, it is the direct opposite of the co-op model. Tenants, many from special needs groups, receive housing that is managed by an external agency and financed by some level of government. Although people who live in co-ops manage their own housing just like any other homeowners, they do not benefit from the personal equity and asset appreciation a house can provide. Instead, they share a common asset, the co-op. In fact, long-term co-op members are significantly disadvantaged in the for-profit housing market. Many cannot now go out into the Vancouver housing market and buy or rent. For many not-for-profit co-op members, this is a conscious and deliberate trade-off made to pass along secure, affordable housing to the next generation. Co-ops are a win-win for all concerned. It's the co-op's strong democratic government and not-for-profit business model that underpin the continued contribution to affordable home ownership in Vancouver. Oh, housing affordability affects everyone in Vancouver today. Over the long haul, by far the biggest driver of affordability in not-for-profit housing co-ops has been the non-market characteristic of the housing form. That is how co-ops have avoided the dramatic escalation in housing costs that always seem to be in today's news. In fact, Section 173 of the BC Co-op Act prevents members of properly incorporated housing co-ops from participating in the profits from any sale or distribution of assets. Hey, what a great partner not-for-profit housing co-ops have turned out to be over the last 4 decades. In False Creek South, for example, almost all the buildings are located on land leased from the City of Vancouver, and the leases are coming due soon. That poses a challenge for the co-ops and condo owners and nonprofit social housing operators alike. They all need access to capital to continue to keep their property in good shape. But bank loans and mortgages are not obtainable for major building work, redevelopment, or new infill development until everyone knows where we stand. Lease renewal and the amount to be charged by Vancouver is the key to co-op's ability to continue to deliver affordable housing in False Creek South and throughout the city. Thank you so very much for your attention. Talk to you again soon.